Hi, welcome to Audiobook Academy. This is a self-paced audiobook. There's no need to keep an eye on things. Just pay attention. Thank you for taking the time to listen. This is a book summary of 12 Rules for Life. An Antidote to Chaos by Jordan Peterson. Is there a simple truth that can help us navigate the complexities of life, and how can we find order in the chaos? Life is unpredictable and can be chaotic. So 12 Rules for Life provides a solid set of guidelines to help us maintain a sense of equilibrium. The author Jordan Peterson contends that in order to live a more fulfilling life, we must discipline ourselves, mediate our actions, and focus on what truly matters. Who better to help us answer this question than Jordan Peterson? He's a psychologist and psychology professor, and he uses a wide range of sources including mythology, religion and personal experience. When it comes to creating an organized and meaningful life, there are 12 rules or guidelines that we can follow. It was through answering philosophical questions on Quora that Peterson found the inspiration for this book. What are the most valuable things that everyone should know? Was one such example. By distilling his broad insights and applying cutting-edge science, he came up with 12 rules he believes can help us deal with the chaos we face today. 4 of Peterson's 12 rules will be briefly examined in this summary, as well as the stories Peterson uses to explain them. Additionally, Pinocchio's lessons on finding meaning in chaos and Lobster's wisdom on taking responsibility and standing up will be discussed. Finally, we'll discover why we treat our pets with such greater reverence than we treat ourselves. Navigating between order and chaos requires rules. As we move between the known and the unknown, we are given opportunities to find meaning and growth. One of Pinocchio's many adventures involves him making a wish and having his wish granted. He wants to become a real boy. This causes him to let go of the strings that once governed his life. With the independence that comes with growing up, he must also face the challenges of adult life and learn valuable lessons about trust, family, and friendship. Similar to Sleeping Beauty and The Lion King, Pinocchio centers on a single goal. Order and chaos, familiarity and unfamiliarity, security and adventure are all factors that must be considered in order to arrive at a meaningful conclusion. We must straddle these fundamental dualities in order to achieve equilibrium. Having one foot in order and security is important, but we also need to have the ability to stand in a place of chaos and possibility while also being open to growth and learning. He argues that relying solely on order, stability, and security can lead to an imbalance in our lives, as there are always new and important things to learn. As we learn about life, we can't bear to be overwhelmed to the point where we can't bear it any longer. Mastery and improvement occur when we are able to engage in new experiences while maintaining our sense of security. In order for Pinocchio to transition from being a puppet to a real boy, without any strings attached, he had to learn how to be a real boy. Aristotle and Socrates are among the philosophers whose works Peterson claims we turn to in our search for meaning and values that transcend time and space. To help us maintain a healthy equilibrium between order and chaos, he derived a set of 12 universal rules from his research. A lobster's heroic stance can teach us a thing or two. Assume a straight posture with your shoulders back. Lobsters, in particular, have it rough. We must, however, take it all in our stride, and metaphorically put our shoulders back in order to stand tall. Lobsters have to work hard to find safe havens. There's a big role for posture here. The most successful lobsters are those that learn to stand out and intimidate their opponents, causing them to back down and surrender to their opponent's demands. As if that weren't bad enough, a loss only makes things worse for the already tense lobster. Why is this so? Scientists have discovered that lobsters' brains undergo chemical changes as a result of competition among the crustaceans. The triumphant lobsters had a higher level of the hormone serotonin in their brains compared to the losers. As a result, their postures are influenced by these levels. Having more serotonin makes lobsters more agile and upright. When serotonin levels drop, the lobster becomes tense and curled up. As a result of this neurochemical feedback loop, the losing lobster is at a disadvantage in future battles. In the same way that lobsters compare themselves to one another, we also compare ourselves to others, and this can have positive or negative effects on our lives. As a result of social media, we're constantly comparing ourselves to others. Neurochemically, we are more vulnerable to depression and anxiety if we feel inadequate. The less serotonin our bodies produce, the more subordinate we appear physically as a result of stress and depression. Instead of relaxing and unwinding, we tense up. In addition, the more subservient our behavior, the more others treat us as the result. As a result, we feel even more inadequate, and the cycle repeats itself over and over again. With its 350 million years of practical wisdom, perhaps we can learn something from the victorious lobster. Our shoulders should be bowed and our torso erect. So pay attention to your posture, Peterson advises. Put an end to your slouching and drooping. Speak your mind. Assume that you have a right to your desires, or at least the same right as everyone else. Keep your head held high and your eyes fixed straight ahead. Don't be afraid to put yourself in harm's way. Serotonin is desperate for its calming effect, so encourage it to flow freely through the neural pathways. We need to take better care of ourselves in addition to keeping our feet on the ground. Treat yourself as if you're a person who needs your assistance. Our pets receive better care than we do. When our dog is unwell, we are more likely to strictly adhere to the veterinarian's instructions. Yet, a third of us disobey the medical advice of our own doctors. What's going on? Perhaps this stems from a sense of self-loathing and a belief that we aren't worthy of assistance. What is the source of this negative self-image? Peterson traces it back to the story of Adam and Eve in the Bible. The people of Eden were banished from the Garden of Eden because they disobeyed the evil serpent and ate the forbidden fruit. We learn about our innate capacity for sin and the ease with which we can be defiled from this story. That we aren't deserving of good things can be reinforced in this way. According to Peterson, history also shows that man is capable of great evil, as evidenced in so many historical atrocities. Our pets and children, on the other hand, are innocent and deserving of our help because of this. It's not a good idea to think in terms of good and bad. The yin-yang symbol in Eastern philosophy symbolizes the dual nature of human beings. In both the light and the dark, there is a sliver of the other. We all have both light and dark within us, just like yin and yang. We should aim for a middle ground rather than chasing either extreme to the point of exhaustion. We should treat ourselves as we would a beloved family member or pet, which is why the second rule states that we should treat ourselves with kindness. Taking care of ourselves is a moral obligation. All of us have an important role to play in making the world a better place. The argument that we shouldn't compare ourselves to others is another example of self-care. When comparing yourself to others, focus on where you were yesterday rather than where you are now. Instead of comparing ourselves to others, we should look back at our own accomplishments. Comparing ourselves with others is a thief of our joy, and can lead to harsh self-judgment. A belief that our current reality is somehow lacking motivates us to make positive changes in our lives. It's important to be critical of one's own performance because doing so spurs us on to greater heights of achievement. If you're good at something, you'll get a healthy dose of serotonin from all the attention you'll get from your peers. We live in a completely new era. Negative feedback is extremely rare. Having a global community makes us aware that there is always a better person than us. Self-criticism can take a turn for the worse when we compare ourselves to others. We get caught up in the accomplishments of others and neglect our own, more incremental, daily progress. Alternatively, we focus solely on one aspect of our lives that doesn't appear to measure up to the standards set by our peers, and as a result, we miss the big picture. We tend to overvalue what we lack and underestimate what we already have, according to Peterson. Comparing ourselves to others can make us forget how far we have come. However, if we compare ourselves to how we were just a few days ago, it's much easier to keep making progress. There's nothing wrong with making progress, but we need to make sure it's for a worthwhile cause that will have an impact in the long run. Instead of focusing on what is most expedient, do what matters most. Life isn't always going to be fair, and it's not always going to bring us happiness. It is, after all, meant to be significant. There must be sacrifices in order for our lives to have meaning. We must learn to put long-term goals ahead of short-term pleasures. When it comes to catching monkeys, there's an old tale to tell. Uncovering the cookie jar revealed an alluring treat. Trap design ensured the monkey's hand fit inside the container, but he was unable to pull his hand out while still holding the cookie. Because he refused to let go of the treat, he was unable to escape and was captured. What we can take away from this story is that pursuing meaningful goals often requires us to give up immediate gratification in order to get there. It's only for the moment that doing what's convenient is beneficial. Finding meaning can be difficult, and it may take us to places we've never been before. Because of the unfamiliarity and difficulty in making sense of the situations, this region can be disorienting. New experiences, on the other hand, allow for the emergence of new concepts. While chaos is uncharted territory, order is a well-traveled path that offers predictability, symmetry, and consistency. It's all the little rituals and plans we make for the next day. But even though chaos can disrupt our sense of order, it can also provide us with valuable lessons. Ideally, according to Peterson, we should be somewhere in the middle of chaos and order. We require a balance between order and chaos in our lives if we are to feel grounded and open to new experiences. A life of significance requires us to make sacrifices and persevere through adversity. Next, we'll learn how to use the wisdom of others to help us on our path. Whenever you're talking to someone, assume they know something you don't. The pursuit of knowledge is the most important form of wisdom. Socrates was praised by the Delphic oracle priestess in ancient Greece because he was always looking for the truth. She called him the wisest man she had ever met. For one thing, he thought the only certainty was that he didn't know anything at all. His eagerness to learn was a major factor in his conversations. Conversation is a great way to learn from the experiences of others and grow as a person. The ability to hear and organize our thoughts is another benefit of speaking aloud. When we don't pay attention, we miss out on the opportunity to learn something new and valuable for ourselves and others. It's not always easy to listen, though. When someone else is speaking, we may become distracted. We may also view a conversation as a competition and a need to prove our point of view. Rather than listening to what others have to say, we're thinking about what we'll say next in order to one-up them. It's possible that we may unintentionally stifle someone else's thinking by launching into a self-indulgent monologue. There are simple ways to improve your conversational skills if you're aware of your own tendencies. The most effective strategy is to repeat back what the other person just said, or to summarize or recap it aloud. Speak in terms of, "Please bear with me while I double-check my work. It sounds like this to me." The other person has a chance to correct what we've heard, and our understanding of the other person's views deepens as a result of this technique. In addition, the goal of psychotherapy is not to give advice, but to engage in a genuine dialogue with the patient. To have an authentic conversation, we must be articulate, open, and strategic in our thoughts. To truly listen, one must pay close attention to what is being said. It's amazing what someone might tell us when we truly try to listen, Peterson says. Because of this, we must pay attention and learn from what we hear. To balance out the seriousness of some of the more stoic suggestions, the following rule serves as a fun reminder to take a breather and appreciate the little things. When you see a cat on the street, pet it. The difficulties of life can seem overwhelming at times, but that does not mean that we should ignore the happiness that surrounds us. It's important to take a moment to savor the good in your life. Wasn't it interesting to learn that the comic book hero Superman began his life as an infinitely powerful being who could overcome any obstacle? Readers eventually found Superman's ability to overcome all odds tedious because there was nothing for him to fight against. As a result, he was not admirable, he was unable to learn, and he was unable to progress. As a result, the plots became more and more predictable. The writers had to make him vulnerable to kryptonite in order to spice up the plots. Difficulties can deepen the meaning of our own stories and make us more appreciative of the natural beauty around us. Peterson tells a personal story about his daughter, who was diagnosed with severe arthritis at the age of 6 and had to deal with it ever since. She was in constant pain and had to have multiple joint replacement surgeries. They finally found a new physiotherapist who was able to help her manage her pain and improve her mobility after years of searching. Peterson discovered that, despite the apparent unfairness of the situation, finding joy and meaning became extremely important to both him and his daughter as a result of this experience. They also found it useful in coping with difficult times. To him, the antidote to suffering is something as simple as stopping to pet a cat as you walk by it on the street. In closing, here we go. Using Peterson's 12 rules, we can grow as a person and as a person grow as a person. We can learn a lot from his wise, humorous, and educational rules as we make our way through life's challenges. For him, it's important that we be open and honest with ourselves, take responsibility for our actions, and pursue what's meaningful. Orient yourself properly, advises Peterson. Afterwards, focus solely on today. Start by focusing on what's right in front of you, what's good, what looks good, and what's true. Work hard on earth, but keep your eye on heaven. In this way, you can fully focus on the future while also focusing on the present. In this way your chances of mastering them both are greatly enhanced. If you're looking for the 12 rules of life, these might be the ones you're looking for. Thank you for listening in Audiobook Academy. Please don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. See you in next audiobook.